the, if you will permit my choice of words, coup that resulted from your intervention. I understand that consequences are something that those endowed with power are wont to leave to their servants to deal with, and therefore something they find acceptable to ignore. So you tell me that them swimming in chaos are far better than coup that resulted from my intervention? Miss Creepy's ocular lenses flash as she looks up from her scrolls. However, I hope my words may help you to revise your approach to executing the Imperium's will in the Coronux Expanse in future. She dismisses the server's call. How did you obtain such detailed information about the event? Care of problematic world of yours, and you are twisting the facts regarding my efforts. The prefect's ocular lenses flash as she replies in an offended tone. I, his lowly and unworthy servant, have no right to twist any facts, but you did! My duty is to assess consequences and do everything I can to make sure the Imperium receives what it is owed. That is the purpose of my existence. Suddenly the old woman's voice becomes less stern and almost didactic. Speaking from my wealth of experience, if I do say so myself, taking care of the Imperium's prosperity is a heavy burden, albeit an honorable one. The fact that even a rogue trader can run into difficulties while doing it only further confirms my many years of observations. One way or the other, we can consider the matter of Tessera closed. I am correct. Closed and recorded. Yes, the old woman smacks her lips in satisfaction. However, that was just the first item on the agenda. Now on to the next matter. The prefect beckons over another servoskull which obediently takes its place at her side. Begin entry 52-1/1-Sigma. Competency assessment of Protocol Solomon Antar, based on his performance during this mission on the world Tessera. You hear a painful metallic crack, and Solomon's augmented hand clenches into a fist. Competency assessment? Very well, Prefect, I am listening. What gives you the right to evaluate Solomon? Nothing that could be considered evaluation of the Lex Imperialis. Someone has finally caught you by the scuff of the neck. Let's see how this plays out. So as to avoid misunderstanding, allow me to clarify that I am not making any judgment, but rather gathering information at Marshal Strack's request. The Prefect turns to Solomon. Proctor Antar, you will be evaluating your own conduct in this instance. For my part, I will merely state a few key points. Let us begin. How would you describe your performance taking into account the following facts? Vulture produces a parchment scroll. You took part in the execution of an administratum appointee without its appropriate permission. I did? You also allowed yourself to be captured, thus endangering your mission and imperiling the valuable equipment issued to you by the Adeptus Arbites. What is more, you sanctioned a tight-related decision that carries adverse consequences for the Imperium. That is all. Proceed to your self-evaluation. Okay. Heavy gaze is fixed upon the Prefect as he slowly forces the first word out of his jaws, as if they have turned to stone. I took every effort and was acting solely in the name of the Lex Imperialis. However, the outcome of the mission speaks for itself. My verdict is thus that my performance in Tessera case was inadequate. Noted and recorded. Now that this Tessera inspection report has been properly entered into the record, allow me on behalf of the Adeptus Administratum to officially extend our gratitude to you for the support you provided to us. May the Von Valencia's name be forever praised, and may the Emperor protect your dynasty from many generations to come. That said, I must now request your assistance in a different capacity. A number of highly important court cases have accumulated at the place of justice, the kind that require formal resolutions by the rogue trader himself. Biased against Solomon, are you not being a little harsh on yourself? Exactly as harsh as my duty demands that I be. An arbitrator has no right to mistake or weaknesses. Our mission is much too important. The proctor's voice sounds firm but detached, as if his mind is wandering far away. Where is this place of justice? It is a temple of the law erected by your ancestors. Some cases could only be settled by hands of the dynasty, but since their time was occupied by other important duties, a facility was built for storing especially complex cases. At a certain point, servants of the administratum were permitted to use the Palace of Justice for hearing disputes. Then, in Lady Theodora's time, the arbites became part of the legal procedure as well. How will the trial proceed? Oh my god. The defense and defendants will speak first, whereupon you can ask me clarifying questions on the case, and then a death sentence must be passed. You are of course free to judge otherwise, but an execution is preferable, since in every case that will come before you, an outcome without highly unpleasant consequences is unlikely. Executions reduce the number of malcontents and motivate prospective defendants to solve their problems before they come under the purview of the rogue trader's court. Is to mete out justice. I agree. I hope we can get this over with quickly. As important as these cases may be, my personal business is more... Okay. Relegated my current task in advance, and thus I'm ready to escort you to Palace of Justice immediately. Please follow me. Let's hear those guys kill some people again. By the name of the Emperor. Cute. Court administrator, you are greeted by an impeccably dressed man with a perfectly straight back. An Arbites scale emblem is embroidered on his clothes. Glory to House von Valencias, we are honored to welcome you to the Palace of Justice. Your Lordship, do you wish to proceed the session at once, or will you grace me with any question I might humbly answer? Only the most important ones that involve the interest of the highest born person and prominent factions of the Imperium. Disputes between noble houses that go on for generations. Conflicts between the God Emperor's servants who are vested with the authority and whose disagreements affect trade and security in the Protectorate. And other litigations of supreme significance. The cases litigated at the Palace of Justice quite literally concern matters of life and death. In such instances, there is always a guilty part whose lies, convinces, or negligence have caused damage to the Protectorate. The task of the Justice is to establish guilt and pass a stern sentence, as order cannot be imposed without these or without summary executions. Let us begin. Follow me. Inscribia Vulture's dreary, vox-amplified voice carries across the hall. The court will now hear case DP 1453 divided by 2/2. The doleful host against the astropathic choir of Dargonus. Representatives for the parties will present their arguments following standard procedures. My name is Sister Youth, and I represent the doleful host. O God Emperor's anointed one, we came upon a group of heretics whose mind brimmed with the most shameless thoughts. We captured them and tortured them as befits their transgression. For thoughts, from what we are able to discern from their wailing and screaming, the head of the astropathic choir is plotting to betray House von Valensis. No one is a liar when the flame is pressing the flesh. The doleful host, surrounded by choir building and demanded that the heretic be handed over. It was solely out of respect for the anointed one that we refrained from burning down the wayward heretics den on the spot. However, say but the word, as we shall take him, that he may undergo a righteous cleansing. The arguments are acknowledged and shall be weighed on the scales of justice. The representatives will retreat to the Chapel of Patience to wait the verdict. The gowned man dressed in astropath's robes is standing tall, but his voice trembles with fury. I am Master Angelio. I represent the Dargonus Astropathic Choir. These insidious and ignorant people are passing of their victims' ravings as truth. Your lordship, people will say anything under torture just to make the agony stop. We have served House von Valensis faithfully for decades. Master Pras, the longest of all. Please order them to stand down. Master of the court repeats the same monotonous formula, begging the other representatives to leave the courtroom. Ask our ship's choir master. The Pras of Dargonus has been known for engaged in any compassionate behavior. Once not captain. Weish has known Master Pras for quite a long time. He has made a very measured statement to the effect that for some time now the mental images conveyed by Pras have taken on a shade of profound anxiety and have become more aloof and detached overall. Zachary Weish attributes this to Pras' horrific experience during the warp storm. Oh, but he is less than completely sure, as there is still something that sets the Dargonus Choirmaster messages apart from those of his fellow survivors. Parties of the conflict, I want to see who among them is trustworthy. The situation is complex and requires further investigation. As the prefect leans toward you, you get a whiff of ink and candle wax. The doleful host is a respected cult of the god Emperor. The Adeptus Ministorum has deemed them to be paragons of virtue who combat every manner of heresies, and has enlisted their aid in various conflicts. Naturally, the ecclesiarchy stops short of counting them among its warriors, but it uses them in very similar ways. Astropathic choir hardly needs an introduction. They are some of the most valuable servants of the Imperium, without whom any and all communication between your worlds would collapse. Targonus choir took horrific casualties in the recent major warp storm. Master Pras made an enormous effort to at least partially restore communication. While we may not have proof of his innocence, Pras's dedication to his duty is beyond doubt. The old woman locks her shriveled fingers together. As you can see, this is an intricate situation. Failed. With no way of knowing what the correct decision should be. This does look like a complicated case. No shit. It's complex and requires further investigation. As I thought, I deeply regret to inform you that said further investigation is impossible. The host's fighters are already breaking down the doors of the choir. Delaying the decision would lead to uncontrollable consequences. Again, I'm afraid they have already said what they have said. Without the choir on the part of Dorgonus, astropaths would be significantly diminished, unless a worthy replacement is found for Master Pras. He cannot be executed. Chorda worlds that owe us an old debt, which can be repaid with a second seasoned astropath. You can make the request, although it would leave the planet in question with barely any This is not excessive to execute both parties. That would be cool. Ready to pass my judgment. Oh my god. Pras guilty, escort him. Declare Pras guilty, escort him here for his execution. I will shoot this goddamn gun on them. Both parties to the case are guilty, execute them. There will be no execution. The court will now hear petition blah 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 restart it. Restart it? Petitioner is Cardinal Anvilas. Review arguments, please, Cardinal. Oh shit. Gauntman raises his bloodshot eyes at you. For a moment all sound ceases, even the scratching of the countless service quills. The man's gaze is full of a pain so strong and undilated that your breath seizes in your throat. I am impure, Emperor's anointed one. I am beset by impure thoughts, but no one believes my confessions. I have been giving away the treasures I possess, only for people to bring me more. Worse still is the knowledge that I am leading people astray. They look at me and believe a state of perfect grace is attainable, while I am very tired. Blinks away a tear and continues. But most terrible of all is that my brethren, the preachers of the Cosmos Expanse, see me as a holy man. The delusion has been so persistent that they sent a petition to Holy Terra asking that I be made a saint. That was when I became firm in my decision to submit to torture in front of my congregation, thus reminding them that no holiness exists unless bestowed as a gift by the God Emperor. Even clerics of my rank can and must repent, thus becoming more pure every day. Please allow me to undergo mortal torture in his name in front of my parishioners. I am hearing this correctly. Is the cardinal asking to be tortured to death for his weakness? That is correct. In addition, he insists you on your subjects bearing witness to it, as a lesson to them, so to speak. To refuse a cardinal is impious in itself, but to execute one who is saint in all but name. Again, failed. Somehow to blame for what happened, but your conjectures are stubbornly failing to crystallize into a clear and complete verdict. What does my retinue have to say? Wise counsel is required here, and it is not to be found within these walls. Reverend Hieronymus would understand the workings of the cardinal's soul, and trust him to the good shepherd of the museums. Candidate saint may be personally challenge their sainting by petitioning the ecclesiarchy on holy terra. Sidestepping the head of the Imperium cult is a violation of the Emperor's law, since astropathic communication with the rest of the Imperium has been disrupted. I propose to put Cardinal Anvilas on a ship that crosses the Maw, so that he can submit his request with every formality observed. The Maw is closed. That does nothing to diminish the stipulations of the Lex Imperialis. Besides, following the letter of the law absolves you of the necessity of painting your hands with the blood of a potential saint. Either the cardinal will cross the Maw, disproving his sainthood, or he will perish if the emperor wills it. As you can see, the Lex Imperialis has all the answers. Yes. It is my belief that Reverend Hieronymus is unsurpassed in his comprehension of humility and holiness. God damn it. Let's go with Argenta. The head of the Drusians would hardly deny the cardinal's peculiar request. However, the matter will be outside our jurisdiction at that point. Reverend Hieronymus will appreciate your high trust in him when it comes to the questions of faith. Conditions of faith, whatever. Okay. I have to shoot someone with this. Let his will clear. Cardinal will leave the palace. Lady Molus Secundus against the late Lord Molus. Lord Molus being deceased, he will be represented by his progeny, Agartha and Sigilas Molus. Representatives for the parties will present their arguments. I am Lady Molus Secundus. Only 8 cycles ago, a man broke into my house posing as my husband, the late Lord Molus. Contrary to what I know, he denies that he was killed by pirates. Instead, he purportedly survived, thanks to the God Emperor's providence. However, I hold here his death certificate issued by the administratum, which clearly states that my husband passed away. I demand that this fraud be executed. The woman belligerently waves around a scroll on which the words declared dead are clearly visible. Our father did survive he really was captured by pirates who were going to demand ransom, but the Imperial Navy managed to board the ship and rescue him. After he went missing, our mother, Lady Moles, arranged for a death certificate before we received the good news. Now we are in the humiliating position of having to prove that our father is alive. While our mother is living with her new husband and has taken over our family business, we implore you to restore Lord Moles to his life and name. He is humbly awaiting your decision in the Chapel of Patience. What Lord Mole have to say? We place a vox recording on one of the service calls. The soft voice is interspersed with static, but you are able to make out the words. When the pirates captured me, I thought I was doomed, but fate proved to be more gracious than that. I hurried home only to form my own house by my servants and learn that Lady Moles had already had me declared dead and married Lord Secundas. She'd also taken control of our everything. Agartha and Sheilas, I don't know how to read it, have recognized me. I am losing my mind. Most family manufactures nutritional rations. They supply the Astre Militarum as well as worlds that have no food production of their own. With the Lord at the helm, they covered the needs of 3 regiments and 5 worlds. Now it is 5 regiments and 12 worlds. One might say Lady Moles Secundas has done much better than her husband did. And again, failed. Complicated situation. The Lady Moles Secundas was acting in the Imperium's interests. She had shouldered the duty of care for the family business and was in no position to wallow in her grief for cycles upon cycles. Cassia throws back her shoulders and says in a dignified voice, "A marriage between people of noble birth is a union of 2 servants of the Emperor. Duty toward the Imperium is at the heart of that union. If there comes a long period of time when one of the spouses is unable to fulfill their obligations, the marriage loses its meaning. If you could codify this understanding in law, that would help resolve this situation. If Lady Moles Secundas is right, then her children are the impostor's accomplices, and are guilty of defaming the authenticity of the administrative documents. Let the woman know that her heirs must face the same fate as the criminal." Also stipulates the Emperor's law. What the hell? Dude! Relay Solomon's words to Lady Moles Secundas. Whatever. Has confessed to bribing an administratum official and is pleading for her offspring to be spared. What? Fingers start clicking on her data straight. Soon afterwards she looks up from the vid screen and says in a colorless voice, "Lady Moles Secundas has confessed to bribing an administratum official and is pleading for her offspring to be spared." So Lord Moles is to be declared alive and fully restored to his rights. All consequences of his death are to be deemed null and void. crime committed inside the enemy stratum that has led to this hearing. She's a mother trying to save her children. That may have been a false confession, and what is worse, a false accusation against the sacred service of the administrator. Have you forgotten that I am a rogue trader and I can dispense justice right here and now? After this session ends, a public execution will be held in front of the Palace of Justice that of Lady Mole Secundus, both her husband and children, and your clerk. All of you who have wasted my precious time, I forbid taking down the bodies. Let them be warned should anyone presume to distract me again. Yes. I'll kill you all. This is the first time I'm doing this. Carry out the sentence. Lady Theodora held court session like this to strengthen her subject, placing the lost Lex Imperialis